Wedging is the process of removing all air pockets, or small openings in the clay, out of the block of clay you will be building or throwing from by compressing the clay between your hands and a canvas-covered table. Potters and ceramic artisans wedge clay on a canvas or other porous surface to ensure that it does not stick to the area it is being wedged on and to pull less moisture out of the clay. Every time you start with new clay, you must wedge the clay to remove any potential air pockets. In its greenware state, or when the clay is still plastic or soft and flexible, we can work with the clay even if it has air pockets. In general, air pockets will not hinder the building process. It's when the piece is being fired in the kiln that air pockets become a problem. The air inside the kiln circulates around the finished clay forms and even goes into the clay in order to bake it or make it permanent. As the air in the kiln enters any open pockets in the clay, it fills them and can't escape or seep out. The air in the kiln will fill those pockets until it explodes. Explosions in the kiln have a lot of force to them. It will completely destroy your piece and the pieces directly surrounding it. This is why every time you work with new clay, you must wedge it. Begin by folding the clay in half and compressing it by hand until it is roughly the shape of a ball or a sphere. Once it is in the general shape of a sphere, you can begin wedging. Our hands pull a lot of moisture out of the clay. It is important to keep in mind that whenever you work with clay to be purposeful, only touch it when you will be making. Keep your fingers cupped around the ball of clay. They are there to keep the clay in that spherical shape. They do not do the work of compressing. Firmly, with even, consistent pressure, push down on the clay using the bottom of your palms, near your wrists, to apply the pressure against the table in a downward and out motion. Press down and away from yourself in a smooth roll. To check it, use a knife to cut through the thickest part of the clay. If the thickest part of the clay is clear of air pockets, then the rest of the clay will be as well. Do not saw back and forth through the clay with the knife. Press straight down. The clay is soft and will cut easily. Examine each half of the clay for air pockets. They will look like small gaps or openings in the clay. If your clay still has air pockets, slap the two pieces back together hard. It should sound like someone getting slapped in an action movie, and start the process all over again. Press down and away from yourself, keeping your fingers tucked around the clay to make sure it doesn't flatten out. Then rotate the clay to a new spot by turning it slightly and repeat the process. Wedge 5 to 6 times before checking to see if the clay is clear of air pockets. Remember to cut through the thickest part of the clay. Small tears or openings are not always air pockets. Our clay contains grog, which is a very fine type of sand. Sometimes the knife catches on the grog and pulls a tear in the clay. Real air pockets are generally larger and have a gap in the clay. Continue wedging your clay until it is completely clear of air pockets. Once there are no more air pockets, slap it back together and wedge it one more time to bond it together. Your clay is now ready to use.